There are stories about NFL legends, and then there are stories that are just on a whole other level. Today, we're talking about Shaun Alexander, a former MVP whose legacy is playing out in two incredible halves, one on the football field and one that is, believe it or not, still growing at home.
So let's just start with a number, 14. Now, for a football player, that could mean a lot of things, right? A jersey number, maybe a record. But for Shaun Alexander, this number means something totally different, and it is right at the heart of the story we're telling today.
And there it is. That number, 14, is the huge news that former NFL MVP Shaun Alexander just dropped. He and his wife are expecting their 14th child. Yes, you heard that correctly, 14. And you can just imagine when that news hit, the reaction was this incredible mix of pure shock, congratulations, and of course, plenty of jokes about him fielding his own offensive lineup.
But to really understand why this news is so wild, you got to remember the player. This wasn't just some running back. Shaun Alexander was an absolute legend. So let's rewind and start with the first half of his story, his amazing career on the field.
Okay, so his 9-year run in the NFL was nothing short of brilliant. He gets to Seattle in 2000 and pretty quickly becomes the engine of their offense. But the absolute high point was 2005. I mean, he wasn't just a player that year. He was a force of nature that literally carried the Seahawks to the Super Bowl and locked up MVP honors. He finished up his career in Washington, but his legacy was absolutely forged in Seattle.
Yeah, that 2005 season, we have to look closer at that. It wasn't just a career highlight for him. It was one of the most dominant seasons by a running back that the league has ever seen. Seriously, the numbers from that one year are just insane.
So what does that dominance look like? Well, it looks like this: 1,880. That is how many yards he chewed up on the ground that season, leading the entire league. He wasn't just running through defenses, he was running over them. And he wasn't just getting yards. He was all about finding that end zone, which he did 28 times. That's how many touchdowns he scored in 2005, which set an NFL record at the time. The man was an absolute scoring machine. And the awards cabinet tells the story too. An MVP trophy, 3 Pro Bowl selections, and he is still the Seattle Seahawks' all-time leading rusher. So let's be crystal clear. We're talking about one of the most elite players of his generation. But, as legendary as his team was on the field, the team he's been building at home is, in its own way, even more impressive. And that brings us to the second half of his legacy, the part that's still being written right now. The bedrock of this team is his partnership with his wife, Valerie. They got married way back in 2002, so they've been on this incredible journey together for a long time. And together, they're the proud parents of 10 daughters, 3 sons, and as we all know now, 1 more on the way to make it an even 14. And just to put this into perspective, he's in some pretty rare company in what you might call the NFL Fathers Club. Philip Rivers is famous for his 10 kids, Antonio Cromartie has 14. And with this new baby, Shaun Alexander will tie that, building a roster that could literally field its own football team.
Hearing the number is one thing, but seeing the names, that really brings it all home. Heaven, Trinity, Eden, Joseph, Justice, the list goes on. It also beautifully honors their daughter Torah, who is in heaven. It really just transforms a statistic into what it is, a family.
So how do these two unbelievable stories, the Hall of Fame level player and the Hall of Fame level father, actually come together? Well, that's exactly where his legacy is right now, this perfect blend of his past achievements and his ever-growing present. The timing on this is pretty fascinating, isn't it? Just as he announces his family is expanding yet again, his football legacy is up for a huge new chapter. He's currently a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. His story isn't over on either front, not by a long shot. And you gotta love that Alexander has a great sense of humor about it all. He actually joked that maybe having 14 kids should give him an edge over Philip Rivers for a Hall of Fame spot, since Rivers only has 10. It's just a perfect example of how his two worlds are completely intertwined. Which really brings us to a final thought. Shaun Alexander's life makes you ask a pretty interesting question about what we value. So I'll leave you with this to think about. What defines a greater legacy? An MVP trophy and a gold Hall of Fame jacket? Or a loving, growing family of 14? For Shaun Alexander, it seems pretty clear the answer is, why not both?